Hello! I'm Shivani. Welcome back to the Curly Bookworm. We're going to be wrapping up everything that I read in May today. So let's get started. So I read about 6 books in May. 2 of them were kind of graphic novelish, and the rest were novels. This is the first book that I read in terms of graphic novels. It's part of my reading goal, so yay, I'm getting that done. This is called The Big Clay Pot by Scott Mills. I picked up this book from the last bookstore in LA. This was in the second-hand pile, and there's an entire haul attached to this find, so I'm going to link that here somewhere. This book is about this girl who sort of gets lost, and she kind of finds her way to a village where she's ostracized for being silly and stupid. And then she meets this old man, and both of them become friends, and it's like a really awkward friendship, and the story behind that friendship and how it goes. It's a cute book. I didn't love it. I didn't especially appreciate the story, but the sketches, on the other hand, the illustrations are really, really cool. Let me show you some of them. I also really appreciate the script on this side. So it's nice, it's a nice book, but I didn't love the story, I must admit, but it was a good experience reading it in any case. So I've given it a 3 on 5. The story was sort of loose. I didn't feel very connected to the story, and I didn't feel like there was too much happening. This could also be because I've read some really good graphic novels. In fact, my first one was so good. I'm gonna link it up here. My first one was so good that I couldn't, that my expectations are really high right now from graphic novels. But in any case, this is a decent read, so if you see it at a library or if you want to borrow it from somebody, it's not a bad idea. But yeah, overall, this is a 3 on 5 for me. The next graphic novel that I read, it's actually more of a children's story. This is called Wingless, and it is by Paro Anand and illustrated by Athanu Roy. This is something that I showed you in a borrowed books haul that I did as well. I'm going to link that again somewhere here. This I borrowed from a friend of mine, Prasanna, who lent it to me simply because the illustrations are gorgeous. I would like you to see this, pay attention, because it's so freaking beautiful. And that's pretty much all I liked about this book. It's a children's book. I understand. Hey, Mogu's here. Say hi. She's come back after a really long time. Hi Mogu. Hey. So the story in this book is set in the Kingdom of Angels, and it's cute. So the thing about this book is that it's a children's book, and the story kind of reads like that as well, so it's kind of cute. But it's also got this like adult tone in it, which I also appreciated. But it also kind of confused me on the other hand, because it's like, am I reading a children's book or am I reading, an adult book? So it confused me a little bit. The story of this book is essentially there are these angels, and there's a kingdom of angels, and there are humans, and into the kingdom of angels is this girl that is born, this little princess. She's the daughter of the king and the queen, and she is born without wings. And an angel without wings is not really an angel. She's human, right? So this story is, oh, that's my other cat, Suki. Hey, Suki. Hi. You got to meet both my cats today, you guys. That's amazing. Anyway, moving on. In this story, essentially, everybody is bewildered and outraged that this little princess who is going to be a ruler one day does not have wings, and that's so non-angel-like. And so they want to prosecute her. They want to kill her. So the king and the queen kind of take them down to earth and then try to find her a safe haven and so on and so forth. Honestly, there's not much of a story right after that. This is pretty much the most exciting part of the story, and that's kind of one of my criticisms against it. But I definitely would like to own this book because the illustrations are so pretty. Therefore, I also rated it 3 on 5 just because of the illustration. I must tell you here that my cats are destroying these new bookshelves, and I will, by the way, at some point do a tour of the bookshelf unless the cats have destroyed it before that. The next book that I want to talk about is this one. This is Love Story by Eric Segal. This is something that I read a million years ago, so this actually counts as a reread for me. So I got started on that before I even made that video, you guys. It was inspired by this read, by this book. I read this book when I was in school or something like that, like at the end of school, and I was really, really moved by it. I remember that so clearly. So I decided to kind of go into it all over again. This book is about these 2 college kids, Oliver and Jenny. Oliver is this rich, old money sort of kid, and then Jenny is a regular American girl. They basically fall in love with each other, and it's a story of what happens after that. What I found really interesting when I was rereading it is that I liked it, but I didn't love it, not as much as I did then, which is actually what inspired my putting rereads on goals list, because I want to sort of see how I feel about stories when I reread them later. And in any case, what I liked about the reread was that I actually read a book with zero technology in it. It's kind of modern romance, but without any SMSing or WhatsApps or Snapchats or any of that. So that was kind of really interesting for me. But while rereading it, I realized that my current rating is probably very different from my earlier rating. My earlier rating would have easily been 5, but I feel like this time it's like a 3.5 on 5 because it's good. It's better than just good. But yeah, it's not a 5 for sure. If you want to just chill and read something without putting too much mind to it, it's a good book because it's super thin. It is also not mushy. It is told and narrated by a boy. So the next book I read was The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. There is a full-blown review that I did, which I will link right here for you, and I suggest that you watch it because I've talked about how awkward this one was for me. I did not like it. This is set in late 1930s, just as the world is going to erupt into World War II, not 3, just 2. There have only been 2, thank God. So like I said, this is set in around the World War time and during when the World War is on as well. This is a story about Liesel, who essentially is adopted by these two people, and her story thereafter. She doesn't know how to read and she's learning how to read, and she ends up falling in love with words. But for me, it took way too long for her to fall in love with words. It took way too long for anything to happen in the story. Also, the story has been narrated by Death. And Death is super boring. Like I said in my video before, I don't mean to sound ironic, but Death was super boring, as was the story in this book. I rated it a 2.5, I think. That 2.5 was basically because of some of the sketches and some other stuff that happened. Like I said, check out the full review. It'll give you a holistic picture of how I feel about this book. The next book that I read is Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 5th book in the Throne of Glass series. I finally am up to date with this series and I'm super happy for that. For those of you who don't know, the Throne of Glass series is about an assassin who is hired by a king to do all his dirty work. Her name is Selena and her adventures thereafter. I feel like that's my favorite sentence, her adventures or his adventures thereafter. I don't want to give too much away because I'm like 5 books down now. But it was a really good book. Is it my favorite in the whole series? Probably not. What I did appreciate more than this book was the 4th one, though there were a whole bunch of characters that were so exciting. Also, on a side note, for those of you who have started this book and have felt that the first 2 books are sort of immature, I completely agree with you. But that's because I went to the 3rd and 4th book and I was like, hey dude, this actually changes. I don't think that Sarah J. Maas's writing is amazing. In fact, I feel like it's quite average. But I feel like her story and her character building is really, really great. So I end up actually really enjoying these books because I really enjoy character-driven plots and good stories like everybody else. And so I actually really enjoy these books even though I don't love her writing. There are exceptional cases where I will read a book if I don't love the writing, but the characters are compelling and the story is compelling, and this is one of the series. So like I said, on a side note, if you feel like you didn't love the first 2 books, plod on, because from book 3 it gets so interesting and it just gets amazing, and there are all of these really cool characters, you guys. The women in the series are badass. They're so cool. So yeah, I mean, just out of pure just to read these crazy cool women characters, I feel like you should just continue, or if you haven't started it, you should start reading the series. I have given Empire Storms a 4 on 5, which seems to be a continued sort of theme with all of the Sarah J. Maas books that I read. The last book that I read last month was called Happily Ever Before. This was a chick lit. I actually picked it up when I was going through a semi sort of reading slump and I needed something light to pick me up. And so I picked up this book. This is basically the story of 2 sisters, one of whom asks her sister to carry her baby for her. This is true. I know, it's ridiculous. Obviously, the sister is also like, hey, you can borrow my books, you can borrow my bag, you can borrow my clothes, but it might be pushing it too far to want to borrow my womb to grow your child. So the premise is kind of funny. Also, the book is really funny. The book's been written in a really humorous way. It's witty, it's funny, the language used is really funny. So I really enjoyed this book. I gave it between a 3.5 and 4. I'm not able to commit, but yeah, between a 3.5 and 4. So those were all the books that I read this month. I know this wrap up / mini review is coming a bit late in the day, but hey, life happens. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm gonna go now. You have a great weekend. I will talk to you soon. In the meanwhile, do the sharing of this video, sharing of this channel, subscribe to this channel, like the video, and please leave your comments and tell me if you read any of these books or if they're going on your list. I will see you soon. Bye bye.